Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everybody to our first session on the topic of the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. So the whole seminar is actually 10 hours. That's how I give it in my report. So, but here we have only 2 times 1.5 hours. So obviously we cannot discuss the whole topic in full, but we just can get some little glimpses and insights of the topic. So let me maybe begin by sharing what inspired me to give this topic more attention. Because, false ego is so subtle that most of the times we don't even identify it. That's how subtle it is. And we can really miss the whole target in Krishna consciousness, that we can feed and boost our false egos and massage our false egos very nicely, all in the name of Krishna consciousness, in the name of preaching, instead of subduing and dissolving the false ego. And that is going on quite strongly. And we may think we're doing the right thing, we're practicing Krishna consciousness, we're chanting, but we don't realize that we completely missed the target. For many years, I have been conducting holy name retreat. One day, the realization struck me that all our endeavors to get on deeper level of chanting out of much use if we don't parallel same time make an endeavor to dissolve the false ego. If we don't do that, then very easily like an elephant taking bath. What's the elephant doing after bath? He immediately grabs the trunk and throws it back on his back. And that's exactly what we do, because we slide back into these false behaviors where we are so packed in them. And as Mahaprabhu says, so actually only if we are more humble than a blade of grass than the tree, only then we actually chant. And only then we receive the power and benefit the holy name carries. Endeavors have to go parallel, deepening and working internally on our fault. One day really struck me. And I was thinking, what's the use of doing all these holy name retreats if we don't give attention as well? Yes, and then I explored this topic over many years. I remember once I was giving a little session on this also in Vrindavan, and we had 2 sessions. And after the Mataji came up to me, who I know for many years, and she's been at least 20 years seriously practicing, living in Vrindavan, said to me, "Oh, thank you for giving the seminar. Now I actually have a false ego." She was saying, "I always thought this is just some theoretical, philosophical point 25 years, because there's not much talk about it, there's not many books about it or anything, So, yeah, for 25 years, seemingly sincerely, but we completely miss the topic of the false ego entirely. Yes. And another interesting thing is also that the bigger and more prominent the false ego is, the less we can see it. We would think it's the other way it is, the more obvious it would be for us to see. But now the bigger it is, the less we can recognize it. And in this regard, I also had once a humorous story. One lady resolve trouble and tension with devotees. That's usually how it manifests, And one day, turning towards me and revealing her heart a little bit. So I thought, all right, let's try and help her to recognize the problem. And I was very careful because I know the false ego is a little sensitive and doesn't like to be put too much. So, the false ego always gets us. And her reaction, she was laughing, saying, come on, false ego, what's that? I don't have that. And I thought, oh my God, how is it possible? A person that has such prominent false ego, laughing and thinking, what's that? I don't have that. I was shocked. I was speechless, what to say. And then all I said to her is, I wish I could say that about myself, but I don't have a false ego. That's all I said. I didn't say more than that. Because I knew there's no point, if people can't even understand that there is a false ego there. But yeah, this is how it goes, that in our more neophyte beginning stage, and she had also been around for 30 years or something, so she was actually, according to the years, not in her beginning stage. Yeah, so it's really like that the bigger the false ego is, the less we can see it and identify, because the false ego blocks our ears, blocks our intelligence, and we can't see, we can't understand. So, and as we become more purified, we gradually recognize how the false ego almost gets every day into our way, pushing us to say and do things which we shouldn't say and do. And oh my God, every day. And as we mentioned, I think, yesterday, family life, perfect opportunity, to subdue and let go of the false ego. Otherwise, if we don't learn that, we will not be able to keep a marriage together, actually. And just looking at our high divorce rate reflects, that fact that people are not willing to introspect and reflect and do some internal work and give up their false ego. They rather spoil the whole family and the kids are suffering just to maintain their ego battles there. Yeah, this is really what's happening. Yeah, so all these points together inspired me to give this topic a little bit more attention. So yes, we probably all know that the soul is covered by the gross body made from earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then there's the subtle body made from mind, intelligence, false ego. So here it is. So basically, false ego, we can say, is the most subtle element of the subtle material body. And as we mentioned, it's so subtle that, very easily we don't even identify it. And just as it is in the gross body, like you show me where's the earth in your body. Well, you can't. It's all mixed. The 5 elements are completely mixed and intertwined. So similarly, it is actually in the subtle body also, that mind, intelligence, thoughts, ego, very difficult to separate them because they affect each other backwards and forwards. Although we can say thoughts, ego is, of course, in one sense, the root cause of material existence, that it basically means we think ourselves to be something which we are not. And that entangles us in material existence. But very interesting to understand how the false ego uses the mind and intelligence as tools to get the gratification it wants to enjoy. So very often, for example, in chanting our japa in the morning, when we think it's the mind that's wandering, once we know a little bit more about the false ego, we actually realize that behind the mind is the false ego hiding, using the mind. So the false ego uses the mind and intelligence to enjoy a certain kind of gratification. It contaminates the intelligence. And the contaminated intelligence, twists things around and can justify anything. Why we are right and everybody else is wrong. That's what the contaminated intelligence does. So quite interesting. Like, for example, we may know that experience when some topic goes around in circles in our head. Some issue, some conversation, some monologue, some dialogue, right? You ever experienced this? Or is it only me? It's guaranteed the false ego taking us for a ride. That we just can't park it, we can't drop it, we can't stop thinking about it. False ego pushing us. They shouldn't have done that with you, and what if this happens, and.
Why they behave like this?
Whatever. So there's unlimited ways. How the false ego whispers all this nonsense into our ears. And we believe it. We really take it and, we identify with it. We can see the false ego almost like a separate entity, always torturing us in some way or another. Yes. So, and false ego, we mentioned this already yesterday, that the subtle body of mind, intelligence, false ego, has to be completely dissolved and transformed and spiritualized. All the material impressions and experiences and attachments and desires, they all have to be replaced with spiritual experiences and attachments and desires and impressions. So it requires quite a bit of a job. And if the subtle body is not yet fully spiritualized, we have to come back for another round in the material world. That's how it works. We can't go back to Godhead with this material subtle body. So it's quite I think for most living entities or human beings, it's a journey over several lifetimes, actually. even though Prabhupada was always encouraging us to get it done in one lifetime, but yeah, not so easy. Yes. So, and if there's a false ego, there also have to be a true ego, right? Obviously. So, what's the real ego? Yes, Jiva Svabhava Krishna Nityadas. I am eternal servant. That's the true identification, the true ego. I am servant. Yeah. But yeah, as we said, false ego makes us think to be something which we are not. And this starts already at very young age. I remember I was once visiting one family. Their daughter was 1 year, could just walk but not talk. So while we were sitting in the lounge room talking, the girl was bringing all her toys to the lounge room. And I wasn't giving it that much attention. But then the mother said, she's showing off her toys because you are here. And I thought, oh my God, this is how it starts. Already at 1 year of age, we are showing off, thinking, oh, my toys are so special. And because they're my toys, that's why I am so special. So 1 year of age, my goodness. And actually it starts even before then. Often, that kids throw their tantrums and want the attention and be in the center and, want to push through what they want. And, yes, anybody who has children, they know this, it starts already before 1 year of age. But yeah, 1 year of age, bringing all the toys, there is more some conscious showing off, And yeah, the toys are like the first possessions for a kid. My toy, that's why kids always argue over the toys. So yeah, it's the first possessions. This is mine, Yeah, so and basically, as we go through life, we accept all these designations. So it starts, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm a cute boy, I'm a naughty boy, or, whatever. Even these adjectives. I am hopeless, I'm stupid, I'm foolish. We have to be very careful, because when we label kids like that, they actually take them into the core of their identity. I am unloved, I'm unwanted, I'm stupid, I will never make it. So yeah, and then according to that, it leads to the fact that certain behavioral patterns are formed. Yeah, it's a whole thing, yeah, quite interesting. So that's why we have to be very careful not to label kids, or you are great, stupid, naughty, this, that, yes. Yeah, so, and then as the kid grows up, okay, I'm Finnish, Indian, German, Russian, whatever, and then I'm a student, I'm a medical student and IT student and engineering and this and that, and then we may get married, so now I'm husband, I'm wife, I'm father, I'm mother, and on even when we join Krishna consciousness, it doesn't finish there. you know. So I'm a brahmachari, I'm a fired up brahmachari, I'm a spaced out brahmachari, and and I'm a grihasta, I'm a paka grihasta, I'm a wealthy grihasta, and you know, and then so many other titles we may accept. I'm the head pujari and the Sankirtan leader and the regional secretary and the temple commander and whatever, you know. So these are certainly all roles we are playing. Like we may be wearing certain caps or hats at certain times, one for the summer, one for the winter, and the fancy one and whatnot. So there's certain hats we are wearing at certain times, but hopefully, usually we don't identify so much with the hats. Although if it is a really extraordinary and special one, then we may also identify with this hat. And then when we lose it, oh, I lost a part of myself, you know. But as a rule, we don't identify so much with the hats. But so, yeah, we definitely have all several roles we play. In our family, we play a role. At work, we play a different role. When we come to the temple, we play yet another role. And then when we go and visit our parents, again, different role. So this is no doubt like that, you know, we are meant to play all different roles, but we identify with them so much, you know. So now my question to you, why do we identify with these roles? Of course, one reason is ignorance, because we think we are the body. That's the obvious one, but there's a more subtle one.
Yeah, we need to identify myself with something.
Well, we could identify as being servant, right? That would be the real thing.
You said about the ignorance.
Yeah, so, but there's another reason. Why do we identify with these roles? Why?
Because we think that we'll be happy with this role.
Yeah, so what do the roles do? You're getting pretty close.
I was thinking it's safety, that you feel safe in a certain role.
Safety, yes.
Right.
Yes, we're pretty warm.
Because I worked towards this in my previous lives.
Could also be. But now, what do these roles do? What do they do to us?
Feed the false ego.
Yes, but more precise. Not wrong. What do they do?
It's like the aim of life, they're giving the aim also. And that if I'll take this designation,
Well,
I'll be happy with this.
The aim should be to go back together.
It's supposed to.
To differentiate us with others.
That's all true. So what do they do?
Respect from others. We get respect from others.
Yes, they give us a certain sense of importance, right? Of being somebody, of getting some little recognition and respect. Yes, and this is exactly what the false ego wants to enjoy. That we are somebody, just, you know, that's what the false ego is hankering for, this kind of enjoyment. As being servant,
Nobody.
you know, that is not very enjoyable for the false ego, unless we say, oh, look what a humble servant I am. You know, but just being servant is not giving the ego much gratification. But all these positions and titles and identifications I mean, of course, the more prominent a title is, the more it feeds the false ego, right? Yes. Yes. And when we lose that position, it can almost, throw us into some identity crisis. Yes. Yes. I was once speaking to a devotee, I'm not going to say who and what, but yeah, a very senior devotee, and because I have some kind of a friendship with that person, we were talking, and there was in the air that this person had to give up their position. So I was saying, well, there's life beyond being ... I'm not going to say what. There's life beyond that. And then the person said, yeah, all right, but who am I then? I said, oh, Vaishnava, servant. Yeah, all right, but who am I then? What am I then? I thought, okay, I better be quiet. Person is more senior, not my position to preach to that person. But yeah, I was thinking, oh my God, that after so many years of practice, we identify so much with these positions, and then what am I then if I have to give up that? It can really, throw us into a whole identity crisis. Yes. Yeah, I mean, God, this is going on, so no wonder people often hang on to their titles and positions to the fag end of their life. Yeah, so, it almost looks like we are missing something here, that this is happening after so many years of practice, Yes. So anyway, this is why we identify with these titles, because they give us this sense of importance. Maybe let us do a 2-minute exercise. Turn you to your neighbor in pairs, in chair. Which role is the most dear one to you? So dear that the thought of giving it up is almost worse than death. Quickly share your favorite hat. Come on, share. Turn to your neighbor in pairs. Share. Okay, Guru Premanandi. So most of you shared something. I hope it was to the topic and not something off the topic. Hare Krishna. We're finishing. Yes, so for many ladies, the I am a mother is a pretty big one. You know, yes, for those who are mothers, they have that experience. And yeah, I mean, that identification is pretty strong because mothers have to sacrifice so much, you know. So I dare say for mothers, that identification is stronger than for fathers because fathers are not as much sacrificing as mothers. And that's why we can see when the children are 15, 16, it's often very difficult for the mother to take off this I am the mother's hat. And she has to put on the I'm the friend hat. You know? And sometimes we see mothers, even though the son is 45, you know, she's still instructing, correcting, harassing him, chastising him, disciplining him. You know the feeling, maybe. Yes. Yeah, so, but when the children, Prabhupada says that, when the children are 15, 16, parents cannot discipline, correct, instruct anymore. The time is over, finished. You know, we have to be friends. It's a whole paradigm shift, you know. Yeah. Yeah, and from the men, all kinds of positions are, of course, very pleasing to the false ego. I'm not hinting at you, Prabhu, there, but I am a brahmachari. That can be a big one. I've seen it, you know, that men are so attached to this saffron because there's a certain glory coming along with it and some recognition. I mean, brahmachari is almost an extinct species of life, hardly existing anymore. So you stand out as a brahmachari. And I've seen it, that even though the person might clearly understand, actually, I should move on to the next ashram. Ooh, so difficult to give up the saffron. You know, what will everybody think? You know, as soon as this thought comes into our head, what will everybody think? Guaranteed false ego. You know, yes, yes, of course. What will everybody think? That's what the false ego whispers into our head. Yeah, so I remember in one place I was giving, well, yes, it was in Simhachalam at Nrsimha. There was a whole group of brahmacharis in the seminar, and I was talking about the I am a brahmachari attachment. And then the year after, one of them came up to me in white, and he said, "Oh, Mataji, your lecture last time, that really made me think." And I actually realized I'm just a brahmachari out of false ego. Yeah. So, and then he moved on. Now he's married and he's got 2 kids. Yeah, but sometimes that can really block a person from moving on at the right time. You know? Yes. So, and of course, when we think ourselves to be something which we are not, can this be a peaceful situation? No. There will be always anxiety there, you know, because we have to pretend, we have to project and try to convince everybody around us that we are something which we are not, the big controller and the enjoyer, and there cannot be any peaceful state of mind. Intense anxiety. So that's what it's like. As long as we are under the spell of the false ego, we will not be peaceful. And proportionally, as we let go of the false ego and we identify gradually more and more as servant and nothing else, the more peaceful we become. It's really like that. We can take as an analogy, let's say we are a cleaner in some big company, and then one day we declare, so I'm the director now. So that would be quite a bit of anxiety. How will I make everybody believe that I'm the director? And what if they realize that I'm actually not the director and I'm just the cleaner? And so it would be nightmares. And then after a few days we say, actually, I was just joking. I'm actually the cleaner here. Oh, thank God. You know, I can be again properly situated and peaceful and just doing what I'm meant to do. So yeah, that's basically our position in this material world. You know, as long as we're trying to be something which we are not, cannot be peace. There always has to be anxiety. And Prabhupada in one purport, fifth canto, I think it is, Prabhupada gives this nice analogy. He's saying life in the material world is like a nonsensical stage performance. I really like that one. Nonsensical stage performance. Prabhupada's choice of words is sometimes very unique, you know, nonsensical stage performance. Or he also talks in another purport about the unnecessary necessities. Yes, I mean, that's why everybody has to learn enough English to read Prabhupada's books in English, because there's so much sweetness in that, you know, and when we translate, it gets lost somehow, you know. Yes. So yeah, nonsensical stage performance. This is really what it is. Every lifetime we can imagine a performance on the stage. So this life, I'm a Finnish man. And I'm running. I have so many important things to do. I'm so busy. And then death comes, curtain closes, show is over. It's all finished. Yes. And then comes the next stage performance, next life. Indian lady. Again, so busy, running. Got no time for this Hare Krishna stuff. And running. And again, curtain is closing, show is finished. Yes. And then next life, maybe dog in Sweden, barking, biting. Dogs also have dog's mind, dog's intelligence, dog's Voltiger. Oh yes, they have a heavy Voltiger. You know, get out of here. Who are you? That's my property. You know, yes. Yeah, so that's how it goes. Nonsensical stage performance, crazy circus, you know, lifetime after lifetime. And it's the false ego which entangles us in that. You know. Yes, and I mean, this is also a good point to keep in the back of our minds, that actually everything which we think to be so important in our life now, our job and our family and this and that and paying off the house and all these things, at the moment of death, they have zero significance. It all becomes completely unimportant. The only thing we are allowed to keep is my relationship with Krishna, because that's eternal reality. That's what we take into our next existence, my relationship with Krishna. Everything else, crazy circus. That's what it is. Good to keep this sometimes in the back of our minds, you know, if we are facing some challenges. And then we make 2 steps back and we ask ourselves, is this still important at the moment of death? And we will realize, no, it's not. Oh, thank God. It's not. It's just part of the nonsensical stage performance. So, and as we, you know, develop that vision, yeah, we we just play the game, but we don't identify so much with all the stuff that's going on. You know, actually, we can say there is two kinds of realities in this world. There is the nonsensical stage performance, and in the beginning stage, we think that to be reality. You know, sometimes when I give seminars, people say, "Yes, Mataji, but in the real world," and I'm saying, "Hang on. Well, what's the real world for you? You know, you mean the nonsensical stage performance, or you think my relationship with Krishna? What's for you the real world?" You know? Yeah, so nonsensical stage performance, that's what we think to be the real world in the beginning. But then as we practice bhakti, actually our perception of reality is meant to transform. And that we are firmly fixed in the reality of my relationship with Krishna. That's where we are meant to get to. And all right, while we have a material body, we just leave it because my voice is damaged. So leave it as it is, please. Yes, no need. Or you want to shut me up or something. What was I saying now? Yeah, I mean, process of devotional service is meant to transform our perception of reality. And as long as we have a material body, of course, we still have to function in this nonsensical stage performance. We have to play our roles, we somehow have to function. But we should be firmly established in eternal reality. Yeah. And then things will not affect us so much, you know, because we know at the moment of death, not important anyway. It's just part of the crazy circus here. And we'll somehow have to go along with it. But I'm not taking it all in and getting all overwhelmed and bewildered and so on. So it is quite a practical thing to keep in the back of our minds, you know, and then we can be a little bit aloof to all the turmoil which we go through in our lives. You know, it's always full of turmoils and ups and downs. You know, then it will not affect us so much. You know? Yes. I do want to discuss one verse of Bhagavad Gita, but before we do this, maybe at this point, let me see if there's any questions, but really only about what we talked, not something else, not, how do we get rid of the false ego? And we haven't gotten there yet. We are just introducing the topic to understand what is the false ego. So do we have any questions so far?
Thank you, Mataji. I was wondering how to, let's say, not minimize let's say, like, ignore other people by saying, it's your false ego. That's it. Like, you're not this body, forget it. It doesn't become that kind of a narrative. How to understand that?
Well, it basically is a question of at least some little compassion, you know? I mean, Prabhupada was always saying ISKCON is like a hospital. So we are all diseased here to a greater or lesser degree. And we don't attack each other for our disease and our symptoms. So one may be passing stool on the corridor or vomiting blood or this or that. So, but we react with compassion. Oh my God, how can I help the person? And not, get out of here, smelly stool, you know, or whatever. So, yeah, so that is a pretty good vision, I dare say, you know, that we are all diseased, and we are all in the right place. And there's so many out there who don't even know yet that they're diseased, and that's why they haven't entered the hospital and the treatment plan yet. But with that vision, and we don't put each other down. Oh, you're diseased, look at yourself. So no need for that, because that's, if we put people down, what is that? We discussed it. Huh?
Angry.
Envy, yes. And envy and Vorzüge are good friends. Yeah, so that's really the envy, trying to use any situation and relationship to put others down and establish ourselves in a superior position. Yeah, so, yeah, unfortunately, we do come across these things. Oh, the karmis, Mudhas. Yes. What else?
Yeah, it's more. I really wanted to specify that question we discussed about the identifying ourselves with something, and you pointed out that it's due to the respect. My point was that I will be happy in this position. And what is the difference between that? So
Well, we will be happy. We think
Because
we will be happy in this position because our false ego
yeah.
gets the enjoyment it is hankering for.
Yeah, because we don't know other position for the our parents or the society gave us these roles that you'll be happy in this position, if you'll be the parent or that or that and that, and then you'll
Well, we can't blame the parents.
no. I mean, I'm not the point. I'm not pointing the parents. I mean that due to our ignorance, we think that in this position we'll be happy.
Yeah, because the soul by nature is pleasure seeking, and because we are affected by the three modes of nature, that's why mode of passion and ignorance set in, and we think this will give us some pleasure, that feeling of importance and being somebody and being supreme, imitating Krishna in some small way. What's happening here? Do we need Russian translation? По-русски, пожалуйста. Нет проблем. Yes. What else? Any other question? Or was that satisfying? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. What else? Stoisho.
The false ego.
False ego satisfied. Yes, Puri.
Thank you so much. I have this question. How to understand that? Are we doing some service for our respect or for Krishna?
How to understand when we do service for ourselves or for Krishna, for our own gratification? Well, let me use the opportunity to explain that the false ego is not all bad. It has also some good part in it, because at least it motivates us. It gets us going. We do something. Yeah. So false ego should be given up, but not too quickly. Otherwise, we drown in tamaguna and laziness. So we will get there a little later, but yeah, at least it gets us going. But gradually, we have to transform our motivation. Actually, a lot of what we think to be the satisfaction in devotional service is actually false ego gratification. Oh, I've chanted 64 rounds on Ekadashi, Ki Jai. I've done it. Yes, there's a good portion of false ego. Somehow I have to get them done. And I've done it. Yeah. False ego. Oh, I've distributed so many books. But I mean, usually Krishna is pretty expert, you know, and I mean, we do have to hear about the false ego, how it affects us, how we dissolve it. We will talk more about it tomorrow. But also Krishna arranges things. You know, for example, on book distribution, every book distributor knows some days you have really fantastic days, and then the next day nobody even wants to talk to you. You know, and you come home with a really small result. You know, so yeah, that's Krishna. And also, that's why it is so important to serve in the association of devotees, because false ego mainly comes out in cooperation or in lack of cooperation. You know? So if we want to do it as I want to do it, so then there's obviously some false ego thing behind it. We get frustrated if we can't do the service we want to do. Even being attached to a certain service, well, it's not unconditional, obviously. Right? It usually means there is some little false ego gratification coming along, and that's why we want to do that service and nothing else. But actually, a higher level is to be simply attached to serving. That is a higher level. All I want to do is serve, whatever it may be. I may get a better result if I do that service, but if devotees want me to do this service, okay, fine, I'll do this. You know? So that is more unconditional. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of purification just in serving an association of devotees and book distribution. Oh, you know, very purifying. I remember I was for quite some time on Sankirtan in Australia when I was living in the ashram. And when we had small days, we wouldn't hand in the score. You know, we would save it and put it on the next day. Rather no score than a small score. Classic false ego thing. You know, if there's no score, oh, well, maybe she didn't go out. But if there's a small score, oh, really, only that she did, you know, so, so yeah, that was our tricks, you know, not to even hand it in and better keep it for the next day and add it on to that day, you know. Yeah, even though, of course, Prabhupada wanted competition and all that, but I have spoken to some of the old Sankirtan heroes of the early days, and they have admitted to me that it was just the whole false ego thing, you know. So, all right, in the beginning it motivates us, but eventually we have to purify it, otherwise we will not last. We will not last in the service. Mode of passion always looks rosy in the beginning and it ends in distress. So yeah, eventually we will give up the service. So we have to come to the point of just being attached to serving in whatever way Krishna and the Vaishnavas want us to serve. But in the beginning, it motivates us. We will get to that in a minute. Let me move on and, you know, bring our attention to verse 1858 in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says he gives us two options of acting. Option number one, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. So being conscious of Krishna, acting in consciousness of Krishna, what does that mean in our discussion here? Acting, what does it mean?
Krishna consciousness.
Well, what does it mean?
Keeping up false ego.
So what does it mean acting as servant? Yes. So if we are simply acting in that consciousness of being servant, that is the solution to our problems. We can pass over all the obstacles by Krishna's grace. Wow, amazing. It really works that way. It really offers the solution to all problems if we just take the position of servant. We will get back to that a little later. So, and option number 2, if however you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. So that's option number 2. Yeah, yes. So false ego blocking our ears, blocking our intelligence, not hearing Krishna and his devotees, and sooner or later we will be lost. At the latest, at the moment of death, when we have to take another birth. But usually so many times before then already. It's another very practical point. If we look back at our life, whenever we had situations where we were very frustrated and tension and despair and whatever, now looking back, we may be able to see that we acted through false ego, that we tried to be the hero, or we tried to be the one who is right and knows everything better, or we wanted to save the situation or show off in whatever way, or whatever. You know. So, and then that creates our miseries. At that moment, we probably can't see it because, not hearing me, we will be lost when we act through false egos. But, looking back, maybe we got a little bit of purification and maturity, and then we can say, see, oh yeah, of course, I had to, be in anxiety and I was creating my miseries with my false ego trip here, competing with somebody or whatever. Yeah, so it really works that way. Yeah, so being servant is really always the solution. Let us take some examples. Let us imagine we are the temple president, not hinting at you or anything. And and one day the GBC comes and says, Prabhu, I think maybe somebody else should do the service. So if we are in the mood of servant, this will be no issue. We will just say, okay, fine, whatever. I thought I can serve you nicely by being the TP, but if you have a better idea, okay, fine. Just simply let me know how I can serve. That's all I want to do. No issue, no problem. No tension, no conflict. But most of the times it doesn't go that way. Having been around for 40 years, you see all kinds of things, and sometimes people are so attached and they don't want to let go. I mean, I know communities, I won't mention any names, but the community is split first into half, then even thirds, because some leaders didn't want to step back, even though there was a democratic way of elections. And somebody else was elected as temple president. Yeah, Prabhupada did suggest this actually. And person doesn't accept the elections, still wants to have their followers and continue their own thing. And oh my God. Yes. Oh, I'm always making this joke, but it's actually not even a joke. I've seen it. That sometimes the only way to get somebody of a position is to promote the person. Okay, you can be GBC in some lost and forgotten island where nobody goes, And then the person thinks, okay, yes, I'm GBC now, in whoop whoop somewhere with the Eskimos or something. Yes, I mean, it's really like that. So yeah, that was another point that I'm observing these things. I'm thinking, well, somehow we are missing something, that these things happen even after 30 years of Krishna consciousness. We are so attached. But here, the Shastra promises detachment, So you could almost lose faith in the process of Krishna consciousness if you don't explore a little bit more the whole workings of the false ego. Yeah, so being servant is always the solution. Or let us imagine another scenario. Let us imagine we are a traveling preacher and we visit a community and we are scheduled to give the Sunday feast lecture. So, and then unexpectedly a sannyasi comes. And then the temple president says, oh, Prabhu, maybe we should ask the sannyasi to give the lecture. So if we are in the mood of servant, no issue. Yes, of course. All I want to do is serve. So I can serve by hearing. This is also service. Or I can serve by speaking. No problem. It's all the same to me. But if we are not in the mood of servant, we get all agitated. What? This is ridiculous. I came all the way and this march was not even scheduled. And now I'm missing the opportunity to meet the congregation. I'm never ever going to visit this place again. And we will be completely frustrated and agitated. Yes. So, simple examples of everyday life in an ISKCON temple. How really being servant offers the solution. So again, very practical. Whenever we face some challenges, we should try to make these 2 steps back and ask ourselves, am I servant here? Or am I trying to be the controller and enjoyer and master and proprietor? Even in family issues, let's make these 2 steps back and look, am I servant? I mean, there would be no marriage problems if both would be in the selfless mood of service. There would be no marriage problems. Actually, in no other relationships do we have as high expectations and demands for enjoying, controlling, whatever, as in married life. That's why it is so purifying, because we have to work on ourselves in order to keep a marriage together. Yes. Yeah, so this is quite interesting. And also, this verse gives us another point, namely that there is 2 motivating forces. Yeah. Material life is all about the ambitious false ego motivation force. I want to become a doctor, lawyer, this, that, We choose some designations which will give us some sense of importance, and not only that, also some good money, hopefully, some position in society. I am a doctor, lawyer, engineer, IT, whatever. So, and then we are striving for that, That's our motivating force. That's what I want to become. That's the path to success in material life. And very easily, we take this into our spiritual life also, because we are so conditioned by that. We are surrounded by that, right? And then also we may think, oh, I want to become a worldwide traveling preacher, famous author, famous kirtaniya, guru, sannyasi, GBC, whatever. We take a designation which, gives us a good dose of ego gratification. And we try and strive for that ambitiously. But that's not the motivating force in spiritual life, in bhakti. So I ask you, what's the motivating force in bhakti? All I want to do is serve. Yes, giving our heart and soul in service, sacrificing our personal comfort and convenience and interest in serving the Lord and His devotees. That should be the motivating force. All I want to do is serve. Yeah. And interestingly, Paramatma is in the heart. And if we have that strong desire to serve, Krishna personally arranges that the right opportunities and doors open up to us at the right time. Yeah, it really works like that. So I find this very comforting to understand that actually in Krishna consciousness, no need to, chalk out a whole career. How will I get up there? No need. Just give yourself in service, and Krishna arranges the rest. Yeah.
May I give you an example?
Huh?
A small thing.
No, sorry. Otherwise, I don't get to the end. Yeah, all I want to do is serve. And from there, really, everything happens. And it's, of course, very practical also. If we are really dedicated in service, responsible, dutiful, our authorities will give us more responsibilities. They can see, oh, this person can get things done, and more things come to us, sometimes more than we can handle. And Guru can also see, and oh, maybe you want to do that, or maybe you should travel and preach, and so it all comes from that, just giving ourselves selflessly in service. Yeah, very important to understand this. This ambitiousness will not attract Krishna's mercy. Yeah. Because to make some little contribution for Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission, we actually need mercy, blessings, empowerment. Yeah. And the way to get it is through selfless sacrifice, giving ourselves in service. That attracts Prabhupada's and Krishna's merciful glance upon us. And that gives us some little empowerment, but not the passionate false ego ambitiousness. That will not empower us. Then we run on this false ego steam there. And maybe some people will be impressed or something, but it will not transform our hearts. It will not ignite bhakti in other people. For that we need Krishna's empowerment. Yeah, and the way to get it is by being willing to sacrifice our very life in service. And a good example is the first generation devotees, the Prabhupada disciples, those who are still around. They received that empowerment through this willingness to sacrifice themselves for Prabhupada. Yeah. Prabhupada's presence instilled that in the devotees. Not in all, of course, many have left, but many stayed. And sometimes we hear that people were saying, yes, what did Prabhupada disciples say? Yeah, well, if Prabhupada would have asked me to jump from the 20th floor of a high-rise building, I would have done it. Of course, Prabhupada would never give such crazy instructions. But yeah, there's also this little episode with Prabhupada where Prabhupada introduces Malati to some of his godbrothers, and Prabhupada says, she is ready to slit her throat for me. And I'm ready to do the same for her. That's what Prabhupada said. Yes. Yeah, that was the spirit, you know. And actually, when I joined in 85, that mood was still in the air. Oh, we were doing all kinds of crazy things. You know, I don't even want to tell you what we all were doing as poetry, staying up all night and collecting and whatnot, you know, really crazy things. Yeah, so, but that really is just so purifying, you know, when we're really willing to sacrifice ourselves. Yes, so good to understand this. And of course, as I mentioned, there is a little bit of a good side to the fourth ego too, because in the beginning stage, we may not have that spirit of sacrificing ourselves for Prabhupada, Guru, Krishna, you know. So then at least the fourth ego gets us hopping, you know, yeah. Very interesting also to see that family life needs, it involves the fourth ego, it involves the I, me and mine. It requires a sense of ownership. It's part of the fourth ego. My wife, my husband, my house, my car, you know, my children. And that motivates. Yeah. I mean, do you have a temple car?
You have a van.
Okay. I don't know what it looks like, but I've seen many temple cars. They're usually bashed around. Nobody takes proper care of it because, it's just the temples, it's just Krishna's. Everybody drives it, scratches it up, nobody ever washes it. Is that here like that? Or not quite as bad? No comment.
Not maybe that bad, but still could be better.
Yeah, and if it's my car, oh, you know, Grihasta has his car. Oh, then he takes very nicely care of it. Oh, you put a scratch in my car. Oh, you know, that's why in the temple, it's good to put the car in one person's responsibility. It's your car. That works. That's what they did in Sydney. You know, I had my Sankirtan car and I had the keys. And people had to ask me for permission if they wanted to drive it, you know. And yeah, then you take care of it, you wash it, and you know, you clean it on the weekend and all that. You know. Yes, but if it's nobody's car, you know, then, yeah. Yeah, so now false ego is like Krishna's trick, you know. Even for men also, you can very clearly see it. That if a man has a wife and children, that motivates him to be responsible and dutiful. Yes, yes. Yeah. And for the women, the same. You know, often I observe in the Brahmacharya ashram, 5 hours service. Oh my God, so many hours, you know. And I'm always telling the girls that no other situation in life can you get away with it by just doing 5 hours service. You know, if you work, you usually have to work 8 hours. If you're mother and wife, 24/7, you know, so what is this here? I need a free day and this and that, you know. You have no other situation you have to service this situation. But then once a woman is married, oh, she is flying, making cakes for the husband and this and that, you know, and making cake for Krishna. Oh no, I'm too tired, I can't do it, you know. Yeah, so it's Krishna's trick, you know, just to get us to serve. And then gradually we have to transform the service the modulation. Yeah, so all pretty practical and interesting things. But yeah, this ambition is not really welcomed in bhakti. We have to let go of this ambitious false ego mood. And again, it shows in conflicts. You know, if one person is in an ambitious false ego mood, then, well, when there's other men also who are in the ambitious false ego mood, you have your clashes and conflicts. You know. All right, so this is all we have time for today. So do we have any concluding questions? No, we may not have time for stories and all that. Otherwise everybody gets up and leaves. So any questions? Yes, Mataji.
I heard vice versa, the situation when in the family, mother didn't prepare good, nice food for the family, for kids, and poured something. And when she got service for Krishna, she started to elaborate cakes, etc., etc.
Okay.
What is this? How it's going to be?
Yeah, well, this is maybe a lack of understanding that our duties, the family duties, actually do come first. Because the family sets the foundation to our development of bhakti. So first the family duties have to be nicely made, you know, and Krishna is pleased if we serve, you know, our family members and satisfy them. And then, you know, if there's time left, then we can do also things for in the temple. This is a common mistake also, which can also be connected with the false ego, because it may give us more glory making the big cake there in the temple, you know, rather than at home for the husband and the kids. Oh, look how fired up she is, and wow, you know, yes. Yeah, so I tell you, false ego is so tricky. It finds any gap to enter any door, you know. Yes. But yeah, no, family comes first. Yes. Oh, I see this so often, unfortunately, that there's still so much immaturity in our society, and that often mothers think, oh, taking care of the child is Maya, it's not service, and then they often neglect the children. Yes, and they rather want to be at the temple, and this traumatizes the child for the rest of their lives. Oh yes, I've seen sad stories, you know, especially also now where anybody can become a big preacher overnight on social media. I met a few ladies who were all with their YouTube channel and preaching, and the child was completely neglected. And then when the child was 3, 4, 5, whenever the mother wants to say something, the child, shut up, you know, runs and puts their hand on the mother's mouth. Don't talk, you know. Yeah. These things are going on, you know, and yes, we don't realize what a valuable service it is to be a dedicated mother, and how the mother is the first guru and plants the seed of bhakti on their heart, and you know. But yeah, being a mother doesn't give much glory, you know. So that's why people don't want to play the role. That will be my last book I have to write next year. The children are our future. I have a 15-hour course which I give in Mayapur on this topic, starting with Gavardhan Samskara to teenage. I learned so many things in Bangladesh because there the kids are really in the center, you know. Right. Whereas in materialistic culture, the kids are disturbance, burden, pushed aside, you know. that's why everybody is so screwed up today, you know, it all goes back to the mother. Yeah, so we have to train our women to be good mothers, you know. Yeah. All right, shall we finish on that note? Okay, just in case there's still somebody who didn't get the books they want to get, and there's the first 3 in Russian, false ego, ложное ego, available in Russian. Очень интересно, очень важно, пожалуйста. Okay, to be continued tomorrow. Please come back tomorrow. Today was just the introductory session, so tomorrow it gets more deeper. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Swami Vivekananda ki. Go up here.
Devaki Mataji.
Prabhupada ki.